Okay, let's start then. Hello everyone, this is Emre Kızılırmak with Winncom Technologies. Today we will talk about designing a Wi-Fi network for guest access and property management services. In this webinar, we aim to develop a common understanding between IT engineers working in the hospitality sector and us, the Wi-Fi network designers. We are here with Peter Vangela, an IT specialist with over a decade of experience in the field. Peter will guide us through the best practices in a Wi-Fi network according to the demands specifically for hospitality. Then I will talk about the effect of these demands on the design of a Wi-Fi network. On the last part of the webinar, I will introduce our Wi-Fi portfolio optimized to address your needs. Now I'm handing the presentation to Peter. Peter, we're on you now.
Thank you. Greetings to all who have managed to join the webinar. We are very grateful for your attendance. As Emre has mentioned, my name is Peter. I'm an IT specialist with over a decade of experience in the IT field, majorly in hospitality. In this session, we shall be discussing about the best practice when designing a Wi-Fi network for guest access and property management. We'll delve into some of the key factors that hospitality environments will be applicable and their solutions. Just a second. Okay, so here we've listed the requirements. Basically, we'll mention the fundamental areas that will concern relations with the guest Wi-Fi design. So we've listed the VoIP, video calls, roaming, upload traffic demands, number of users, number of SSIDs, and throughput per user. In the following slides, I will delve deeper to elaborate further on these specific areas. So we'll start off with VoIP. So VoIP refers to basically making phone calls through the internet, rather than through the regular landline or mobile cellular network. And for excellent, just a second. Just a second. So for excellent voice transmission, VoIP is a good stable network, requires stable network, and we should also have sufficient bandwidth. A good connection with guaranteed availability. So keeping an IP address and connection alive when a user works between rooms, floors, and even buildings. So basically, as a hotel IT specialist, you should invest in Wi-Fi network that not only handles mobility, but can also handle all kinds of traffic, including voice and video communications. Yeah. So the other area that you'll need to focus on when you're designing your guest network, Wi-Fi network, would be the video calls. So video conferencing is becoming the most common in-demand application, basically in the new information age. You'll find most hotels guests preferring to use video calls when they're communicating with their families and friends, as well as when they're conducting their business calls. So when they're connected to the Wi-Fi network in the hotel, they'll definitely be using their gadgets to communicate on video, and they expect the calls not to be blurred or grainy or stuttering. So you have to ensure that your Wi-Fi is designed for the best quality video calls that you have to have in place. So what you need to consider for you to have a good network that will support video calls is to basically have these key considerations. So one is you're supposed to design it for high density. So you need to assume that your users will opt to join your wireless network And now you should also make sure that your network can support. Just a second. And you should make sure that your network can support this bump. So you need to prepare for an increase in the internet traffic. You also need to make sure that your QoS policies are set in a way that is applicable for multimedia. You also have to ensure that there's seamless roaming in your network to Wi-Fi access points. So band steering is also very important when you're configuring your Wi-Fi network. You need to ensure that your mobile devices have the best Wi-Fi connection for sensitive video communication by steering them to connect to the 5 gigahertz band as opposed to the 2.4 gigahertz band, which is slower. The next item on my list is roaming. We'll also discuss about roaming. Roaming is also very key when you're designing your guest Wi-Fi network. You need to ensure that your clients are roaming between the APs. So the clients should use the stronger signal when in the range of multiple APs. And clients will not notice any connections when switching between the access points, even when they're on VoIP calls or video calls. So without you configuring roaming, your end users, in this case, the guests, will experience disconnections and latencies while they're trying to connect to a new access points. So this will eventually lead to dropped calls, websites loading slowly, and some difficulties in uploading of images. And also you'll get negative performance reviews from your guests. Another key area that we need to look at is the upload traffic demands. So organizations basically need to optimize the limiting of upload and download speeds per device. Should have a policy for MAC ID management. So meaning that you're able to give connections to devices by blacklisting, to deny access to maybe people who are going against the policy. So you can actually blacklist, and you can also whitelist devices using their MAC ID. So the other thing that you'll need to set up would be the traffic monitor bandwidth. This basically helps you to analyze and determine your bandwidth requirements. The other key area that you'll need to look at when you're designing your Wi-Fi network is the number of users. So when you're designing your Wi-Fi network, you need to consider the client coverage carefully. Different factors can affect the number of users on our wireless access points and model when you're configuring this Wi-Fi network. So you need an AP model that has a single device and can handle a number of connected users compared to maybe dual radio access points. The other area that you need to focus on would be the bandwidth and throughput. So depending on the internet usage of your customers, your access points handle a different number of users. So for instance, for web browsing and instant messaging, a light bandwidth usage. For social media, it will be medium, light usage. For Skype and heavy video calls, and video streaming like Netflix, YouTube, you'd require heavy usage. So if the majority of your guests are uploading pictures on the Instagram, a limited number of users will be supported. Conversely, if all customers are sending emails, a larger number of clients will be simultaneously connected. So different applications require different throughput. So for web browsing, for example, streaming would require up to 3 Mbps. So the other area that you also need to focus on when you're considering your design would be the coverage and the interference. So independently the access points, users are not, should not be reached, should not be affected by interference. So you need a in a wireless. To the next page. The other thing that you'll also need to consider when you are designing your network would be the number of SSIDs. So using multiple SSIDs allows guests to access different networks, each with a different policy and a function. So increasing the flexibility and the efficiency of the network infrastructure. When you're configuring these SSIDs, this you can configure using these three different modes. So you can have security in mind. So when you're setting up your network for guests and for employees, then the two networks should use the same physical infrastructure, but they should have two different SSIDs. So this will help prevent the guests from basically being able to access information contained on the hotel servers. The other thing, when you're configuring the number of SSIDs, it will be for different service tiers. So when you're doing the configuration, you'll have the ability to tie specific billing and to a certain ISP or two different ISPs. The other advantage of this when you're designing, when you set up different loading pages, page on a different SSID, another on a different SSID. Just kindly bear with me. Another important area to look at when you're designing your Wi-Fi network would be the throughput per user. So when you're designing your network, you should have in mind that users need to have access bandwidth which is divided equally among the Wi-Fi users. So you need to be able to monitor both the throughput and the bandwidth together with all the most complete account of your network performance. So combining the two will allow you to check on your network resources, and you'll be able to make sure that they're being used efficiently as possible. So a network bandwidth analyzer is a comprehensive solution that will help you to track your internet bandwidth and throughput performance. So I finished looking at those areas and now hand it over to Emre.
So thank you very much for that part. Okay, now we will talk about the Wi-Fi network design and the Winncom professional services that we offer you. Whatever your demands are from a Wi-Fi network, you need to start with a floor plan of the property. You need to understand the building materials used, like the type of walls, etc., the ceiling height, and the areas with high density of users, like receptions, restaurants, beaches, etc. Once we know about your property, we can design the network according to your demand. We start with placing the building elements on top of your floor plan. The building elements like the walls, windows, doors, all have different attenuation effects on the Wi-Fi signal. So we need to include them all on the floor plan in order to have an accurate design. We also optimize the design area according to the other attenuation factors, like the density and type of the furniture, and even number of people in the area. Now we are looking at a 45-meter wide floor plan here. So as you can see, we can cover the whole floor with a simple AP. And this is even the smallest AP we have in our portfolio. However, this is not applicable in most of the scenarios, especially if we are talking about guest access, because most of the time, It's not about the access points coverage, but the devices connecting to it. Let's consider a guest in the bottom right corner of the floor, lying on his bed and checking his Instagram on his bed, okay? In that case, you will have an unsatisfied customer that cannot connect to your Wi-Fi network. Just keep in mind that the communication requires a two-way data transfer. Your signal from your Wi-Fi access point may reach to that room, but the signal from the cell phone needs to reach that access point as well. Cell phones are pretty much the standard design criteria with the lowest signal strength. So we need to design our network in order to provide connectivity to these mobile devices. In that case, setting a criteria for a proper connectivity for mobile device is useful. We set our coverage limit to provide minimum of net 65 dBm receive power. This is pretty much the standard limit to provide useful connectivity for mobile devices. However, keep in mind that if you place another access point out of this useful coverage area, you will still have interference if both access points are on the same channel. We design our Wi-Fi networks taking into account the interference from all Wi-Fi sources and channel planning accordingly. In Winncom, we have a large engineering team spread around the globe. Other than our own offices, we have local presence and partners across the world to help you locally. We can help you with the design of your Wi-Fi network, site surveys, and even a complete network design for your program. So let's have a quick look at our Wi-Fi portfolio and talk about the advantages it provides to you. Even though we are representing over 80 vendors as Winncom, we are mainly solve most of the Wi-Fi demands with two series of products. You can see how we address the two product lines. Each product line scales to meet many enterprise applications. However, we can start to see a soft line between the two when we consider the needs of small, medium, and large enterprise customers. The first product line I'm going to mention about is the CM Pilot. CM Pilot has an incredible TSO value with zero recurring fees, ideal for expanding or renewing your network. The NMS called CM Maestro is the same system in use today for many other products, including the CM Matrix switches. So all your network can be managed and monitored under a single pane of glass. On the other hand, Cirrus is designed to scale from small to medium and large enterprise with extensive requirements around application control, BOD management, IoT segmentation, and location analytics. The Cirrus portfolio uses software-defined radios to expand network capacity and reduce the total cost for a high-density network. Cloud radio access points are designed for large venues, stadiums, and arenas. You can see a brief comparison of the two product lines here. We offer CM Pilot and Zero series depending on your demands from a Wi-Fi network. CM Pilot series can provide all your general needs in a hotel environment, and it even comes with a free of charge capture portal that is highly customizable. If you want to have application control policies or want to provide location-based services, Zero series are the best in their class. As Winncom engineering team, we can help you to determine the best solution for your needs. While talking on Wi-Fi, we cannot just pass the switch requirements. We are offering CM Matrix series that are fully managed Layer 2 and Layer 3. Again, these switches can be managed with CM Maestro. Unlike our Wi-Fi access points, they require no configuration in the field. Everything can be handled smoothly with the profiles you create on the management system. You just need to plug them. The feature I like the most on these switches is the device profiler. You can create device profiles for your Wi-Fi access point, cameras, or whatever else you have in your network. When you plug in one of these devices to any port of your switch, it automatically gets the profile and sets that port according to the device you plug in. It provides a huge flexibility on your network during the first installation and when you want to make any changes. So This is all we'll be talking about Wi-Fi network design for hospitality and a little bit on our portfolio. So if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer now. If you don't come with questions at the moment, you can always reach us offline through our email addresses, and we'll be happy to help you. Okay then, thank you very much everyone for joining. Great to see you and hope to talk to you again.